Welcome back to Permission Slip Granted. In this episode, we're giving you permission to stop disappearing inside your motherhood and to start coming home to yourself. Today, we're naming something most moms feel but rarely say out loud: resentment. When you've given everything to your kids, your family, your partner, it's easy to wake up one day and realize you've lost you in the process. In this episode, we're talking about what that really looks like, how to move through it without shame, and what it means to reclaim your identity, joy, and peace as a mom. This one's for every woman who's ever whispered to herself, "Wow, I miss me." We are so excited you're here. The topic that Kylie and I are unpacking today is so near and dear to my heart. It is going to be about motherhood and how we lose ourselves in our motherhood, and actually how to reclaim the joy. And we're going to talk a little bit about my journey. I'm sure Kylie will have her voice to pop in here with some of her amazing advice that she gives me, as she is somebody I lean into sometimes when I'm struggling in my hot motherhood moments. Yeah. So
Thanks for that. I'm glad to
yeah.
hear that it's helpful.
You are, and it is amazing, and that is one of the biggest things that I want to say here in this space is there's a reason we say it takes a village. It legitimately takes a village to raise tiny humans. And how often you hear a friend or you see a friend, or as a woman, you are in it with her. And we have this, like, I feel like when you see somebody struggling, it's like, what did you do? How did you get this out? How did you get out of that? What is it that is going to perpetuate me out of this hole that I'm in, this rut that I'm in, this spiral, whatever it is? Like, if you have no energy, if you're feeling burnt out, if you're like, when does it get better phase, right? And I'm just thinking, like, have you ever looked in the mirror and said to yourself, where did I go after having children, being a mother, and giving so much of yourself to your motherhood?
Yeah. So I have a slightly different perspective on this. And so I will talk briefly and then we can share your experience, because I've told you personally off camera that for me, it wasn't so much of a thing after I had kids because I was already gone, right? I
Yes.
already
Yeah.
suppressed myself so much. But for sure, in the younger years, there was definitely a loss of anything that sparked joy for me. My kids did,
Yeah.
like, but me, Kylie, as a person,
Yeah.
not as a mother, a wife.
I think, yeah, I think that's actually a really good layer to talk about, because I really feel it's very easy to lose yourself in anything, whether it is a job, whether it is a relationship or motherhood. If you're not so grounded and connected with your roots, and I'm talking about your authentic self, I'm talking about knowing your values, knowing your whys in life, it's so easy to lose your identity along the way and absorb yourself, especially if you're giving all of your energy to that piece that you're choosing to give energy to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? Was there a moment though that you can remember where you like looked in the mirror and went, ah,
Yes. I have like so many things to say, and I will try to be brief in here because this isn't all about me. I really want this to be a space today, this specific recording that we're doing, to help to perpetuate and say, hey, tap, tap, tap. Are you feeling this way?
yeah,
Right. And so I think for me, I was crying a lot. I was getting my feelings hurt over and over when my kids would resist me. What's wrong with me? Why don't they respect me enough to follow suit with what I'm asking? Why do I have to get to the yelling phase of life? And things really, the biggest catalyst, I think, for me is when the world shut down and we were now stuck at home with our families during COVID.
yeah,
And, I was in a postpartum era of my life during that time because I had just had a baby, and I had a kindergartner, and it was so hard. And then I just got creative and I was trying to create a sense of normalcy when there was so much chaos going around, that I completely stopped doing anything for me, and I completely started living every ounce of every day for my children and my family. And in that started to build up this resentment. And as my children got older, there was more resistance on their side if I didn't appease them. in certain ways. And just getting my feelings hurt and crying all the time. I was like, there has to be more. Like this can't be it. So then, of course, that goes to talking to my girlfriends. What do you do? What does it get better? And then there's that phrase, it doesn't get better, it just gets different. Sorry if you're if you're
But let's
wondering that.
that
Yeah.
that is the truth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what I want to emphasize here, and I tell this to my oldest, and I tell her I'm learning to be a mom just as much as you're learning to grow up. We have to give each other tools to help each other. And the biggest thing that shift for me and that dynamic in my relationship with her was having those conversations. And as much as she wasn't ready to have some of those conversations, I think that we have to remember that kids know more than we think that they do. And they sit in silence, and there's so much that comes up for them. And when I really think about the ideas of what they sit with alone, it makes my heart hurt as a mom sometimes, because it really goes into self-worth and am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? Like they really go negative. Like if you think, like if you have a thought and you're wondering about something, are you always going to the positive side of it, or is it big and scary and you don't know, because the realm of the unknown is so scary to kids.
Yeah.
And when I put that piece together and I looked at my children, I literally remember there was a moment, and I was crying my eyes out. I was sitting outside because that's where I connect with myself again. And I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. Would they be better off without me? I said that. And it wasn't saying like I wanted it in my life. It was more like I'm always the fun killer in the family. I'm always taking away the joy because, moms, unfortunately, we have the role of being the enforcer most of the time. When dads are busy off working, I mean, maybe that's not everybody's dynamic, but it is common in my area of a group of friends, right? Where I'm the one who's worried about the sunburn. Are they going to get sunburn? Oh, you stink. You need to take a shower. Like, oh, you need to have, I don't know, a vegetable on your plate. Like, my husband, he's not my dad, but my husband, he always gets to and do the fun things. And there's a layer of jealousy that was happening for me too
Yeah.
in my own family dynamic, that I just wanted to change it. And I think that the resentment, if I can say anything that really changed for me, is recognizing that. And I want to remind people that it builds quietly. It builds over time, and it's the choices that we make, the actions that we take, and what we're allowing to have happen. And and I want to talk about specifically about us, so like as the caretaker, as the mom in the
Yeah.
family. If you are constantly pouring into your family and forgetting about yourself, that's when that layer of exhaustion is going to come in, that layer of burnt out, your disconnection from joy, your identity, and purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that resentment, when you recognize it, that does not equate to failure, right? You need to look at it as it's a signal, right? Emotions are just signals, they're data to help us
Yeah.
process and move forward. So reframe it instead of thinking of it as failure, reframe it as a need to examine boundaries, to look at how you're getting support, whether that's, the support of friends and things like that, or the conversation with your partner or over, hey, I can't be the only one worrying about broccoli and sunburns, right? And then also that reconnection with self peace. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing too, I want to remind people is there's so much comparison that's happening
Mm.
with social
Yeah.
media.
Oh my.
And oh my gosh, I need to do this activity and this sport, and I need to be fit. I need to have 3 meals. I need to get to the gym. I need to, all these boxes that we're trying to check. Whatever those boxes are different for everybody. But I think for me, I fell victim to that. especially during COVID, when I was just grasping onto everything that I could to distract my kids from the reality of what was happening around us. I mean, we were very open. I mean, COVID can be another conversation and like how we all survived that era, right? But I'm not talking about putting rainbows and butterflies and rose-colored glasses on here. I'm talking about how do I keep them distracted because we're not in school, like,
Right.
and keep my sanity, right?
Yeah.
And then there was like, okay, there was all these trends that were happening, and I have to say, and I have to give a shout out here. If you do not know who Dr. Becky Kennedy is, she saved my motherhood. She gave me so many amazing tools on how to reconnect with my kids because there was a lot of disconnection happening, not only with my children, but also with my own identity.
Mm.
And she's amazing, huge now. She's got a million followings and she's got a lot of structure. When I found her, she wasn't that big. Like, so it was really great. She would just give these like little tips and stuff. So follow her if you are a struggling mom. She has a lot of amazing stuff. There's a lot of resources there for you to definitely get some good tools and resources. Um, if you're especially having younger kids, because that's where I was in that phase. But so that led me into, okay, there's a better way. And oh my gosh, this is working. Like one of my favorite tips, I'm going to give you hot tips, mom. If you have little kids who are under 5, covering your eyes to get them to do anything, that gave me so much sanity because it's like, oh my gosh, if I count to 5 and my kids are magically brushing their teeth, I'm gonna hop on one foot and you just be silly. Whatever it is, you just be
Oh
really
yeah.
silly. It works. It still works
Yeah.
sometimes for my almost 11-year-old. I'm like, this is the best tool ever.
It works even for my older kids. Gamification, right? There's something
Yeah.
that speaks to the brain when you make it a game, and
Yes.
yeah, it's a really good
Yeah.
tool. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna go on the Kristen monologues here. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I think for me, flash forward a few years, um, I am crying all the time. These are the things that I'm recognizing. I have no joy. I have resentment. I'm thinking my family's going to be better without me, right? That's
Right.
where I left off in my story. Um, so now I have gone on this journey of reconnecting with who I am, separate from not even just my children, but also separate from my husband,
Mm.
because I gave so much to my marriage. I gave so much to supporting him because he was putting so much into taking care of us. That was the gift that I could give to him. So I sacrificed my career for him. And I've fallen into situations where I was helping him all the time. So because that's who I am. I'm just a giver. And I feel like I was always pouring into others and I wasn't pouring into me anymore. Before my husband, I was so self-assured. I was confident. I was like, I'm never getting married, never having kids. I'm moving to Europe kind of person. Right.
Yeah.
And then I let it all go the minute that I had a baby. And it is, I think because I was just consumed with fear.
Mm.
And then there's this, am I gonna fuck this up? You know? And
Which, a spoiler alert for anybody who's new to the mothering game or parenting game and considering it, you're gonna fuck it up. That's just a guarantee. Okay, continue.
yeah, and that is the one thing that I've actually, the piece of acceptance is huge here, right? And I think that really came through my own journey. Like, I obviously, we're life coaches here. If you're new here and you don't know that we're life coaches, this is how we kind of connected. I believe in life coaching so much that I have my own coaches. And Kylie, my girl here, she was actually one of my coaches in the past. And I had another coach during this really deep, I'm I need to figure out what the heck I can do to change how I perceive myself when it comes to my identity through my children. I was living through my worries of what they thought of me,
Yeah.
but I gave them so much power in a way that I literally had no identity at that point
Mm.
because I couldn't separate myself from them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I went through my own coaching journey, and the biggest thing that connected for me was I'm okay to be me. I'm allowed to be me. And the acceptance piece here is I am going to fuck it up. They are going to have whatever resentment that they're going to have towards my parenting style because they're their own human. They're their own tiny human. And when I really connected that, I was able to step back. It's like I almost was able to zoom out, like the lens was so focused, right? And then I was able to zoom out and now I can see the whole picture. And I really realized that it is okay for them to have perceptions of me. I don't need to control that anymore.
Yeah.
And I need to accept the piece that when they are having outbursts, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with their dysregulation. And that
Yeah.
I'm doing everything I can to be the best mom I know I am in the moment with the tools that I have today.
Yeah.
And
Huge.
that's what I want to remind people is you're as long as you're doing the best with what you got, you're doing just fine.
Yeah. Let me share a couple of things that came up while you were chatting. So number one, don't quote me on this because I don't remember the exact source, but I have heard from research from scientists that kids only need one secure attachment 60% of the time.
Yeah.
Let that just sink in for a minute. So, especially if you are a solo parent like myself, worrying about that they don't have more than one, they just need one. And it only has to be 60% of the time. So that accounts for 40% of fuck ups and, you know, going out with your friends so that you can recharge or this or that or the other, right? So let me
Yeah.
think in. Number one. Number two, I heard a really great quote on parenting from Glennon Doyle. I love her podcast, We Can Do Hard Things. She was talking about, it was an episode all about parenting, four truths. The last truth was this idea that we have in our heads that we have to shield our children.
Mhm.
And she said, you're not doing it wrong. We just got the wrong parenting memo. We're not supposed to shield them from pain because we want our kids, and she said, I'm speaking in generalities, right? But we want our kids to be resilient. We want our kids to have compassion. We want our kids um, to have drive and ambition, right?
Mhm.
Well, where does a kid learn resilience? When they fail, right? And they get back
Yeah.
up and they keep trying. Where does a kid learn compassion? When they feel pain, right? And I can't remember for the last one, but the idea being that shift your mindset that you don't have to control everything, like you're saying. You don't have to get everything perfect. It is okay to fuck it up and to
Yeah.
have a real kind of relationship with your kids, not just the authoritarian one. Have the conversations around, there's no parenting guide. I'm doing the best I can. These are things that I didn't like from my parents, from my child experience.
Yeah.
And these are the things that I want to grow up. But I also tell my kids, hey, I know I'm going to fuck it up. Those exact words. If you're new to the channel, fuck words
We cuss
are
here.
good in my house and my kids hear
Yeah.
them. So, I
Yeah.
use the exact words. I'm going to. But in acknowledging that, it has allowed for so much more trust,
Yeah.
safety, and connection. They can come to me now with anything and know that they're going to be met with safety. I may not
Yeah.
always have the answer. I may not have the answer they like, right? But they know that they can have that conversation and they are going to be met where they are. And that is huge. So those are the things that came up in
Yeah.
talking.
And no, and this is why I love having these conversations with you because I love that you bring these points out. And I would like to circle back to one thing you said, the 60-40%,
Yes.
right? Like I love that you brought that up because I aim for an 80-20. That is my personal goal as a mom. That's what I wanted to pour into my family. But I know that I have an extra sensitive child. One of my children need more. And so I think it's also knowing that I'm allowed to take 20% of that for myself. And that 20% is actually what I've been pouring into connecting with the things that I need to connect with in order to even have the patience to be able to recognize when there's a need, when there's something going on. Because if we are so burnt out, the exhaustion is gone,
do you think that you're going to have patience to receive your child in a way that they need to be seen in that securely attached relationship? I know I wasn't giving it because when I didn't have anything else to give, I was snapping, I was yelling, I was not proud of my behavior as a mom. And this is what I wanted to circle back to and retouch on this idea because I think that there's a lot of mom guilt that happens and then
Mhm.
we just sit with it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm guilty of that. And one of the things that Dr. Becky Kennedy really changed for me and my family is understanding the power of repair. She has an
Mm.
amazing TED talk about repair. It's never too late to repair. And so the beautiful thing is, and you talked about how where do kids learn these skills? Some of these skills are learned by watching their parents.
Yep.
Right. And so I can see because I am really big on repair in my household, and I see it with my kids. Like last night, we were having a hard time with bedtime routine. Nobody wanted to go to bed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go sit on the couch for 5 minutes and I'm going to come back. And I hope that this energy, you guys do what you want, close the doors, get it out, whatever you got to do, because nobody's got listening ears on. I said my piece. I walked away. I came back. My little one, she was in bed. She was making a sad face. And I looked at her and I was like, do we have something that we need to say? Because you look very sad over there. And she just looked at me and she's like, I'm sorry I wasn't listening. Can you forgive me? That's all she had to say. And then she was
Yeah.
beaming with joy and love and kisses again.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I wanted to say. And then shielding, guys. It is not our job to protect our kids from emotions. It's
Yes.
our job to teach them how to navigate through those emotions. And I find that if you as an adult don't even know how to do that, how are you capable of doing that for your children? So
Yeah.
so that is one thing that I think therapy comes into mind here, coaching comes into mind here, even counseling. Like if you don't know how to identify and name and even deal with your own emotions, that is something that I personally struggled with until probably like 5 years ago. I've just been on this huge journey of emotional intelligence and being able to recognize it in myself so I can recognize it in my children so I can help them.
Yeah.
And that's been that really leveled up my parenting. I have to be very, very honest with that.
Yeah. Let me chime in really quick. I know there are lots of different emotion wheels and things like that. We in my house have found Dr. Marc Brackett's Permission to Feel. His book, huge. He has a mood meter in it. The reason I like it is that if the kid can't name the emotion, his stuff is done in 4 quadrants and it has 2 different axes, right? So we have pleasantness, high, like high pleasantness, no pleasant, low pleasantness. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Low pleasantness. All right, there we go.
That's a
And
hard
then
word.
high energy or low energy, right? So if they're like,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm feeling. Well, obviously, we're probably going with the high energy if they're going like this, right? But okay, is it pleasant or unpleasant, right? Where is it on that spectrum? Okay, well, it's more unpleasant. Okay, are you feeling lots of it, high energy, or is it really low? Right. And so it guides them. So then we know what quadrant we're working with. Then they can look at that quadrant and be able to look at words and some they know and some they don't. And so they'll find one they know and then we talk about the ones around it, right? So this is how you educate them on emotions. I know that there are lots of, like I said, there are lots of wheels out there, but you have to start with something. And I don't necessarily agree with how they're all connected on that. So I've really found that to be helpful. I will make sure to post that in the show notes for people if that is something that you would find interesting. But it's as simple as that for yourself and for your kids. Find an
Yeah.
emotion wheel, a mood meter that helps you identify your emotions so that you can work through them, regulate yourself, then help your kids do the same.
Yeah, I love that. I love this emotion, naming your emotions and being able to unpack them
Yeah,
and know what to do when you're having those emotions and being that example for your children.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's one thing too, I think is being able to find that one person in your life. that you can pour it out with, that
Yeah.
you can just word vomit, like that compassion, finding like one person to have that connection with where you're like, hey, I don't need advice. I just need to vent. And I need you to just love me at the end of this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been very helpful. I'm very blessed to have more than just one of those individuals in my life. And if y- my girls who know who they are, they know I give it right back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
those are, we could call this strategies for relief, right? Or strategies
Yeah.
for healing, normalizing the resentment, because society is telling us that we can have all of these positive things and we get all
Yeah.
the gold stars for doing all the things, but any type
Yeah.
of rage, any type of resentment, all of those things need to be not seen, not heard. You're not supposed to feel those. So let's normalize it. Find those small moments of identity
Yeah.
formation, right? And I think a big piece here, and we could do a whole other episode on this, we probably will because I feel pretty strongly about it, is that partner rebalancing, right? You
Mm.
can't, regardless of gender, you cannot be the only person doing the invisible emotional labor for your children. That is exactly
Yeah.
why you're in burnout, right?
Yeah.
So have that conversation, and then advocate for yourself and find the support. I call them my shame spiral crew. When I'm having no, it's slightly different. Like there is the venting, right? I have friends for that, and then I've got my shame spiral when I'm like, oh, I totally fucked it up, and here's the thing, and da, 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 and how do I repair
Yeah.
it? And so make sure
Yeah.
you have, because different friends offer different things, so have
Oh my
multiple
gosh. Yes.
connections to reach out to in the various moments of need.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Oh shit, I fucked it up. No. We need
Oh,
more people. Yeah, we need definitely a sounding board sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And not feeling so alone. I think that is the biggest thing that I like to remind myself if I am having a shame moment, especially in my mothering, the
Mhm.
way that I'm choosing to mother. It's like, oh crap, okay, I'm gonna admit it. First I gotta identify it, then I gotta admit it. Then talking about it relieves that guilt.
Yes.
Yeah. Sitting in silence never does anybody good.
Right.
No.
Shame needs isolation, and what else to grow? Isolation, maybe it's silence, but
Secrecy.
secrecy. Yep.
Secrecy.
Yep.
Yeah, secrecy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to talk about this idea of shifting our mindset. You said a
Yes.
couple things and I wanted to add in letting go. Letting
Mm.
go of perfectionism. That was a huge one for me. And allowing things to be messy, to be loud. Because one of the things that I grew up in a household where children were to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I really love to tell my kids is you're allowed to be messy. You're allowed to be seen. You are allowed to mess up. And I feel like when we have this construct of you have to be a certain way, especially with kids, because life is an experiment for them. They're going through and figuring out what their boundaries are. And so they're going to constantly test us. And I think having that mindset of knowing that has given me this. I've now gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, it's okay. Your room's a mess. It's okay. Stinks in here. That's fine. We got to figure it out. Having those conversations like, well, what do you want? And really putting in boundaries has helped me with my perfectionism. Like the kids have expectations and I have hard presses on those. And those are the boundaries that I hold for them. And those boundaries are something that I enforce and it's not something that I'm ever wavering on. And they know that. And so there's that consistent layer there
Yeah.
that I think contributed to me letting go. Because when a boundary is pushed, when they have crossed a line and somehow, now we get to have a conversation. And I know my daughter, like I'm already like sensing that this is where I'm fucking things up a little bit. Is like I go to her, I'm like, can we have a conversation? And she already knows, oh, okay, what is it next time? So I'm like, that's my new thing I'm working on is like, how do I have these conversations outside of the moment? Because never inside the moment, because remember, emotions are like way high. We got to get him
Right.
low to even have that connection piece, right? But I still need to have those moments talking to her. So then I kind of preface her now. It's like, hey, we need to talk about this. When can we do that?
Yes.
So that's my new thing I'm learning, because I notice I always go up and I'm like, oh, because I'm fulfilling my need for the right now.
Right.
So, and you gave me this hot tip of like, ask them, get them involved.
Yeah.
And that has really been one of the shifts for me in letting go of my own need in the moment, and letting go of the perfectionism the construct that I was trying to build.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where it was coming from. I have no idea. Like, I would love to probably go. I mean, I don't know if I want to, but if I could answer that question, where it comes from, then maybe I can rip it out, throw it away, out of my subconscious, where that was even coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, just letting go, I think, is so powerful. Letting go of the expectations, of letting go of the idea that others are thinking things about me, letting go of the idea of it has to be right now. So that was
Yeah.
another big mindset shift that I think was very paramount into reconnecting with being able to zoom out and see the joy now,
Yeah.
versus being so stuck in the chaos. It's like I'm now seeing seeing my children with a different lens.
Yeah.
And that has added a huge layer of joy for me, and being present in the moment and taking that in, because I'm thinking about right now, it's like I've lost a child, thinking about others who've lost children. Like, they don't think of these grand moments. They just want that hug. They just want that story. They want those simple moments back,
Yeah.
right? And be present in those simple moments, because that, I really feel, is where joy is the most abundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just taking all of that in, because it is so hard when you are in burnout, when you are in the thick of your own emotions. It is so difficult to remind yourself of how quickly the time is passing, and how do I want to spend my time, right? Do I want to
Mhm.
spend it angry and yelling and worried about the 50 million things, or do I want to have the connection with my kid, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard to remind yourself that. So I don't necessarily have an answer. Do you have something, like a phrase that you say, or something to
Um,
bring you back to the moment?
yeah, actually, I think I shared this with you a little bit before, but there's a couple things that I can think of, but one phrase specifically to answer your question is, my family doesn't just need me to be present, they need me to be whole.
Mm,
That is something that is my mantra for my own self is, but I feel like where I want to go with this is, what I say isn't going to work for everybody. What
right.
I want to remind people is, you really need to reconnect with you. And one of the things that I love about being a life coach, and one of the things that I'm on fire about, is leading people back to that authentic version of themselves
Mm,
and reconnecting with their core values. Because that is, I really believe that there's this first layer that we have to peel back. And like, first you have to be aware of it, right?
oh
And
yeah.
and once you become in this phase of awareness, now you can hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
Now you can start perpetuating the actions to change the things that you want to shift in your life. And then over time, it just becomes your life, right?
Mm,
And so I think if people aren't connecting with who they truly are intrinsically, getting out of that rut, getting out of that cycle, or even being able to recognize it, is not going to be possible.
mm,
Because again, that lens is so focused, and you really got to peel back the layers to zoom out, change your perspective, change what you see. Because if you don't change what you see, you're never going to be able to change what you do about it.
yeah. Mm,
And sometimes, I hate to say, sometimes catastrophic events help people change their perspective. And I really hope that by then it's not like, if anybody's listening right now and this is something that is motivating them, and they can take one thing away, it's never too late to repair with your children, number one, but the time is now.
Mm.
Don't wait for something to happen. If it's going to happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I've heard so many people say, I've lost this, I've lost that. Somebody, I'm going on a walk this weekend for a little 5-year-old who got hit by a car riding his bike, so it's like, there's that family is hurting, and there's so much that they would want to take back, and do good now, do something amazing now, sit down on the ground with the kids, play with them, go to that sporting event, take them to get ice cream, just sit and talk with them. Don't talk at them, just have that conversation and say, and check in with them. I found that really powerful. I will admit that I had to go to therapy to learn how to play again, because that's how far gone I was.
Yeah.
Because I was keeping it all together all the time, every day. That the idea of playing was so painful.
I'm just going to throw it in there. I'm just like, if you're autistic and you struggle with that too, just know therapy might not fix that. But, I'm just, but there's still so much to be gained from it, because yes, like
I want to say therapy did not fix that for me. It just brought it aware for me. And then now I'm aware of it. I'm keeping myself accountable that I'm actively choosing to go into play when my children ask me, because it's still painful. Like, it's still so painful. Yes.
Yes. 1000%.
Which is really funny, because unless I'm without my kids and I do not have to be on, I have no problem whatsoever playing. But for whatever reason, when I feel there's a layer of responsibility, forget about it. Like, that's not where my mind wants to go.
Yeah, for me, it's more I struggle with certain kinds of play. Like, you want me to sit and build Legos with you? No, I don't. But you want me to sit and paint with you? Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
So it's just different. But yes, find the ways to connect with your kids, because
yes,
it is
definitely
so important.
Yeah. And remember, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Nope.
I think that that's really important, to remember, that even just taking 5 minutes, like, you've seen those reels where moms are locking themselves in the pantry or the closet, right?
Yep.
I've been there, done that.
Yep,
but that 5-minute reset, they're powerful.
Yeah.
They're super powerful. And another thing that I've been doing lately, I don't ask anybody what they want to eat anymore. I just cook. And I will tell you, I've been pleasantly surprised. Everybody in my family thinks I'm an amazing cook. If you're not an amazing cook, that's okay. This story's not for you. But my kids were like, Mom, you're always so good at cooking. Of course we want what you made us. I was like, I was prepared to make chicken nuggets and pasta again.
Right.
But they ate. I made an adult meal. Like, I say adult because it was, the flavor palettes were not very kid friendly. But
Right.
my kids ate it. I was shocked. So try it.
Yeah.
Just try something that when I'm saying try it, it is referring to just do something that you've always put last and see how your family responds. So if you want to go to that, they'll surprise you.
Yeah.
I was, and maybe they won't, and then maybe there's more work to be done. But I think the important takeaway here is, if you're not trying, you can't even make any sort of pivot to change, right? So the idea of just getting in there to try to fail, the other side looks so amazing, because you've learned a lesson, you've put yourself first, you've taken an opportunity to try to choose yourself. And now we're looking back and saying, oh, well, that didn't work out. So we can call this an experiment phase, right? So and just, I don't know, hold space for whatever comes, and don't assign so much pressure, that internal pressure that we have as women. I think moms, especially the roles and the dynamics and how many hats that we have to wear all the time, day in and day out. Just reminding to give yourselves grace.
Give yourself Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say one more thing. And I just want to say that if you're feeling the weight of resentment today or the loss of you and in a way that you don't even know how to find yourself again, just remember there's people out there to help you connect with yourselves. There's so many books out there. There's definitely resources. And if you need that help, please reach out. We would love to connect with you.
If today's conversation hit home, if you saw yourself in the exhaustion, the guilt, or the quiet longing to feel like you again, just know you're not broken and you're not alone. Reclaiming yourself after kids isn't a luxury, it's essential. And remember, repair is always possible. With your kids, with your partner, and most importantly, with yourself. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and give yourself the same grace you give everyone else. You deserve it.